Hi, I'm going to show you what you need to know to help your kids paint the blessing cups. First of all, they're going to make sure and get their name on the bottom, and if you want them to write it themselves, this is a black grease pencil and it doesn't burn off. So before you start, either get the kids' names on the bottom or have them write it. The other option would be to use a regular pen, which is going to burn off. And if we're going to be putting the names on all of them around the rim, if that's what they're going to want, then you could just write their name with pen. But just to be safe, in case the child chooses not to have their name on it, it would be better to go ahead and put the names on the bottom with the grease pencil. You have these color choices to use, and we're going to start by having the kids paint the designs around the outside. And the way I would suggest doing that, if you have lots of kids that can share the colors and you can put the paper plate in the middle of the table, is just to put a puddle of a color. I'm going to start with my purple. Start with a puddle of color that several kids can use, and let them start. I got my brush wet just to start with, but it doesn't really need a lot of water. And they can use the paintbrush and paint in their designs. Okay, and do all that. And the brush will fill it in pretty well. It won't take really 2 coats because the brush will be able to lay it on there. If they need to change colors, they can wash it in the water. You see that? And dry it on a paper towel. Okay, and then you would go on to the other colors, and they would just be passing these paper plates around or setting in the middle of the table that several kids could be using from the same paper plate. If you have to social distance, what you can do instead is put a small dab of paint of all of the colors, about the size of an M&M. They don't need a lot to start with. Sometimes the paints are kind of thick. This one, even though it looks purple, is pink. It says Pinky Swear on the bottle. It's number 95, and it is pink even though it looks purple. This one is the purple one, and this one is the blue one. You can see the difference between the blue and the purple, and then this one, as I said, is pink. So like if you have to have every kid have their own paper plate and can't be sitting close enough to share, this is the way that you would do it. Just a little bit of each color to start with. Okay. All right, let's say I'm going to go ahead and maybe paint my leaves. And they don't have to use the normal colors, you know, if they don't want leaves that are green, or they can use whatever colors they want for the different parts. Maybe I'm going to paint the host pink. Okay, and fill that in. Okay, and maybe I'll make my cross the orange color. There is no red. Okay, and they can fill that in. It's kind of small. Okay, but the lines are going to outline it and make it look okay. All right, so the next step is to go ahead and paint the inside. And in your kit, you've got a bunch of sponges, and you want to get it wet and make sure you wring all the water out. It just needs to be damp. You can do that for the kids ahead of time. And again, you will have had puddles of paint on the paper plates, and you're going to put 1 sponge, maybe 2 if a lot of kids are sharing the color. But let's say I'm going to use some yellow for my inside. Okay. Again, get it wet, bring it out. All right, so you're going to go dab the sponge in the paint and then to the side a little bit because you don't want it to be really, really solid. And they're going to paint the inside next. And the reason why we go to the inside is that allows this to dry and they can still hold it by the handle or the stem. So they're going to pounce this in all around inside. And maybe get a little more color and pounce it a little bit to the edge. Come in, paint the entire inside. And more paint. And you got to get your hand way down in there. Kids' hands are smaller than ours, so they should fit in a little bit easier to get to the bottom. Okay. And I'm not going to finish that out completely. Okay. But they just keep going, and either the inside color or the outside color needs to come up over the rim. So you might have them go ahead and do up on the top with the inside color, pouncing around like this to give it a nice color around the rim. Okay. Then maybe I'm going to use some blue for my main color. Again, you would have puddles of paint that several kids would use. Have their sponge in it. And by now, the outside should be dry enough that they can sponge around it. And it's important that they know they don't have to go right up to the design. It's okay to leave a little bit of a white halo around it. So again, dab my paint and start sponging in around. Get in there close, but not necessarily touching. Gonna come in here, paint with my sponge, get in there, and you can get in kind of close, but you don't want to go on top of the designs. And by having a little bit of a white halo around them, it actually helps set them off a little bit. So I can sit here and sponge away. Get in close, not too close. And as I said, you've got the handle, oops, I got on there. I wasn't being careful. So I'm going really fast. Hopefully the kids will go a little slower and be more careful than what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get through all the steps to show you. Okay. All right. And they might have to turn it upside down to get in here close to the base. What's important is that they know that they're always pouncing. They don't want to do this because that just wipes the paint and doesn't put a layer on. So make sure that they know that they're always just pouncing, kind of like a bunny hopping. They can set it down for this part if it's easier and turn it. So then you have your color all around, and it looks pretty good. Okay. And then you can go to a different color on the bottom. This time I'm going to use the purple that we already have here. Okay, and I'm going to pounce it. Okay, and because I can put my hand in it, it's dry and the outside's not too bad, I can pounce here and do all along the bottom. And as I said, I'm going really fast. The kids hopefully will take a little more care in how they're doing it. Get a little bit of an overlap up there. Okay. And certainly you can slow this process down and wait for everybody to finish a step before you go on. All right. So I have the inside painted, I have all the designs painted, and I have the base painted. At this point, you're going to you're going to make a decision as the teachers that they're all going to have their name and first Eucharist, or the date and first communion, or whatever it is that you want it to say. And it's going to, oh, I'll back up a second. If you want them to be able to do a little more designing, you could say, well, why don't you put some fingerprint polka dots maybe on the stem? Might give it a little bit of fun. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it's not going to just like, yeah, it doesn't look too bad.
Kids might like that. And wipe their finger on the paper towel. You could maybe do fingerprints on the inside, but you really don't want to busy it up too much because you want the focus on the designs of the cross, the host, and the grapes. So it's kind of up to you and what you want them to do. All right, so at the end, we're going to detail the lettering, but we need to know what they wanted to say. If you're giving the choice to the child, you're going to write on the bottom, you're going to say, this one wants the name. So you're going to write their name, might be Mary. And then if you want the date, and I don't know the date for you all, but if it's April something, April whatever, you're going to write that on the bottom very clearly in pen. Or if they're all going to say the same thing, let me know, and the child's name should already be on the bottom with the black grease pencil that's permanent. I'm going to write sample on the bottom of this one. Underneath there it does say made in China, or yeah, that will burn off, so you don't need to worry that the made in China is going to stay. It will be gone after it's fired. So it will be the name that's in the black grease pencil, and then around the base we will do the detailing with a black detail bottle. I didn't get one out to show you. Madison, will you bring me a black detail bottle, please? Thank you. Sorry for the delay. All right, great. We're going to use one of these when we get them back and do the lettering on the bottom. So it might say First Communion, or it might say Mary, but I'm going to write First Communion all around the base, or whatever we need to write. So they'll be great.